Hello, guys, and the stats for the first month of ETFs are in, and they look excessively bullish for Bitcoin. Let's look at the stats for ETFs over the last 30 years. That's 3 decades of ETFs since the 90s. Remember those days? Yes, ancient times, my friend. Ancient times. That's right. Since 30 years ago, there have been over 5,500 ETFs that have actually been allowed. And guess which one after 1 month has the biggest AUM? Actually, look at the top two. It is IBIT BTC and Fidelity BTC. They just knocked the socks off of all the rankings. The next two, UCSL and UCSA, are kind of like climate conscious funds. They're pretty big. QQQ is a big fund, and QQQ is actually one of the largest ETFs out there. It's the Invesco QQQ Trust Series 1 that has an AUM of 247 billion, and yet in its first month, QQQ basically only got a little bit over $1 billion, whereas both Fidelity and IBIT crossed $3 billion. That means both Fidelity and IBIT, each individually, got at least 3 times what one of the top 10 funds actually got in their first month, and that ain't the only one. So basically, the potential of these funds is massive. If you just look at QQQ, $247 billion invested right now. If you look at how fast it's progressing, this will actually, I think, way surpass $150 billion in terms of the next couple of years of getting into crypto. Because outside of BlackRock and Fidelity, that's ARKX and BitB, which are also Bitcoin funds, are also in the top 25. And this is not just for this year. This is for the last 30 years. So we have 4 crypto funds, 4 crypto ETFs that actually debuted with 1 month totals in the top 30, and by far and away, the top 2 within the last 30 years are crypto. So if you don't think mainstream media, or not mainstream media, mainstream finance is interested in crypto, you are absolutely wrong. And more than just this, if you look at this chart here, percent of days with positive inflows, iShares and Fidelity, 100%. And you look at some of the others that are actually on there, they had 15% of days with inflows, 5% of days with inflows. So even if you take out the fat cats, there's a lot of inflows. It had inflows every single day. Every single day within the last basically every single day within the first month, and they are the only cryptos to do so. This is unprecedented territory for ETFs, and this just goes to show you the massive demand there was. So a good chunk of these ESG, BOI, BS, meaning one investor behind entire AM. So I looked at the percentage of days in the first month they had inflows, which helps separate organic from BYOA, which is one fat cat buying everything. IBIT and Fidelity both had 100%, not to mention $6 billion in volume. Literally unprecedented. These are the most successful ETF debuts ever in the history of the world and the universe, for all we know. And that means they could actually surpass the AUM for even the S&P 500 ETF trusts with time. Now, obviously, the inflows are going to slow down with month 2 and month 3. But they're still going to be accumulating billions of dollars. And if you're wondering why Bitcoin is actually going up right now, this is why. Because Grayscale ran out of coins to sell. Well, they're not out of coins, but Grayscale, the people stopped liquidating. And yes, there is still really large inflow into both BlackRock and Fidelity. And, that means there's added buying pressure and not that much more added selling pressure, which is why after FTX sold off, we started going up, which is why we're going to go up until Genesis decides to sell off, which is why when Genesis runs out of coins to sell off, we're still going up. I know 50,000 is a big resistance and there will be profit taking, but I don't really see any big problem crossing the $50,000, $60,000 resistances. And this is why I'm so bullish that we're going to hit 150,000 during this bull run, because people are not going to stop pouring money into these ETFs. I mean, these are this is the best start out of any ETF in the history of ETFs. Obviously, some of these other indexes like S&P 500 index, they've basically existed forever and they're not within the last 30 years. And obviously, like when you get past like way down there, like inflation plays a large role about like how much money actually went into them. But like the volume for these ETFs is huge. There's a lot of people trading them. There's a lot of price action going on. And I don't think the inflows are really going to stop after next month because like, I don't really know because institutions want to get in on this too, especially if they actually see that people are actually buying it. They're going to see it as an asset for the future. BlackRock's been making a lot of positive statements on crypto and Bitcoin, and I don't think they're going to stop. Larry Fink, I think, probably has some himself too. They're buying each other's ETFs as well, but that's true for like all these ETFs. But this amount is just completely unprecedented. And here we go. Here's the updated version of the top 25 ETFs by first month assets with last night's data included, which is more officially 1 full month or 20 trading days. The 4 Bitcoin ETFs are highlighted. Bitcoin, Fidelity and BlackRock is number 1 and 2. ARK B is number 3. Not number 3, is way down here. BitB is way down here. But top 25 is still really good for the over 5,000 ETFs that have actually been launched within the last 30 years. So that should show you that ETF demand, Bitcoin ETF demand is massively huge right now. Bitcoin demand overall is huge. Yes, some people still want the FDIC insurance. They want to invest with a trusted advisor or whatever, and now they can actually buy these ETFs. And a lot of these, I think, are new investors in the Bitcoin market. That's why it's actually going up as well. There's a whole new class of investors actually coming in. It's not just like, like people selling their BTC to buy the Bitcoin ETF. It is institutional investors. It's like high value investors coming in. And I definitely think we're going to go way over the all-time high this time, just based on this data. This data is just unescapable, it's unbeatable, and it's incredibly bullish. And another thing that's incredibly bullish are like California, the biggest US state, are embracing pro-crypto candidates in 2024. Now, they're saying that 8.2 million people in Cali own digital assets, which is something like 20% of the population, and probably more than 20% of the adult population. That's 27% of Californians, but I'm guessing like people who are 10 years old or under probably don't own any Bitcoin. So it's more like 30-something% of the entire population owning Bitcoin. Now, the average person who owns Bitcoin owns like $200 worth of Bitcoin. So I don't think it's going to be a major political issue for most of them, but there is a good chunk of California that will actually endorse more pro-crypto candidates. And like, outside of Brad Sherman, I do think like a lot of the California reps, even the Democrats, are actually really pro-crypto. And you're seeing more like in the House, at least, you're seeing a lot more pro-crypto Democrats. And in the Senate, you're seeing 1 or 2 as well. Because I think they have to change their political views or they're going to lose votes. And I think this is going to take a bigger and bigger chunk of the electorate right now. So I think it would be wise for the Democrats to have a conversation with Elizabeth Warren and Gary Gensler to not be so anti-crypto. Yes, there is an anti-crypto voter part of the block, but most voters want some kind of crypto clarity and they want rules that don't disrupt innovation. So 27% of Californians, roughly 8.2 million people, own cryptocurrency. The majority of crypto holders in the U.S. states, 78%, that policymakers should favor new, innovative, and disruptive technologies, and many would vote for those that do so. So I do think eventually this is going to be a decent swing block. Now, California is obviously heavily leans Democratic because of LA, San Francisco, and the large cities, obviously. But the thing is, within the Democratic field of competition, there are more pro-crypto and more anti-crypto candidates. So I do think people like Brad Sherman can actually be vulnerable to being voted out. And if you can get a Democratic candidate that basically campaigns on pro-crypto in California, I think he can actually win. Someone like Andrew Yang, who's really independent, I think he could actually have a pretty good chance of winning a California Senate seat. And even the Ted Lieu guy that a lot of GOP people don't like in Hawaii, he is fairly pro-crypto. So someone like that who basically still carries the Democratic banner in California, but is pro-crypto, that could be very, very helpful to crypto's advocacy. Because we can always throw money at them. We have a lot of money to throw at politicians for crypto right now, and more people owning crypto. They're not going to like anti-crypto candidates right now. So basically, According to Coinbase, 51% of US voters nationally among Gen Z and millennials said they likely support crypto-friendly candidates in 2024 elections. And that's because us younger crowd, we're like more pro-crypto than the older crowd. And we want those pro-crypto regulations. So like eventually this is going to have a big impact on national elections. And I think you're going to see both parties becoming more pro-crypto and throw people like Elizabeth Warren, Gary Gensler, and Brad Sherman to the side. I think Brad Sherman, out of everyone else, is actually probably the most vulnerable. Warren's in Massachusetts. It's like super liberal, and they're probably not great for crypto. But there's like a huge amount of Californians that actually own crypto, and there's probably a lot of people in his district that own crypto. So if you get another Democratic candidate, because his district's heavily Democrat, so you're not going to flip it, but you could actually like primary him in the Democratic primaries. And I'm hoping that someone actually does that. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.